are here with Kyla Yu. Nice to meet you.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
I said your name right.
Yes, you did. Usually people say Kayla.
Yeah, well, I had to ask you ahead of time
Yeah.
because, I do not like butchering people's names.
Yeah.
Um, so nice to meet you. You're super popular you got the TikTok. I sound like a grandma. You're on the TikTok and the Instagram. Um, no, you've had like you have a big social media following, but you've had like a really storied life. You've done a lot of different things.
Yeah, I'm just you know, growing up, I had such a lack of validation that I started to seek validation in a lot of accomplishments. So that just led me to various careers because I would pursue one thing and then not feel validated after I got success there. So I'd go pivot to another thing and on until I finally landed in writing now, which I feel really grounded in the most.
That's so well, you were also doing like travel blogging, and so you're not new to writing, but
Yes, yeah.
but this is
Yeah.
your first book. This is a big book you have coming out. Tell us the name of it.
Yeah, so it's called Fetishize, A Reckoning with Yellow Fever, Feminism, and Beauty. And it's about the fetishization of Asian women, but through the lens of my experience, and then also delving into the historical origins of it, and then also the real present day harm that it does. But what was also kind of fun was that I got to delve into a lot of the media that I grew up with, which turns out is problematic now, such as like Memoirs of a Geisha, the Harajuku Girls, the Fast and Furious, the Asian Girls and Mean Girls. So I got to like kind of just rewatch all those things and see them through a 2025 lens.
So, well, tell me about your upbringing a little
Yeah.
bit. And well, first of all, also you've been sober 11 years,
Yes.
This
Yeah.
this podcast is drunkish, but I
Yes.
wonder if a lot of I'm really interested to hear what I mean, a lot of creative people do end up with some substance abuse stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that the people who are creative tend to be seeking validation, right?
Yes,
So,
guilty.
yeah, I do feel like drugs and alcohol fulfill some of that validation. I was particularly empty of it, and this book that I wrote would not have come about if I didn't get sober. Absolutely. It's a result of like my recovery life and I don't know if you talk about higher power and all that stuff, but yeah.
Whatever you want, whatever, yeah. I'm open to whatever. I do definitely 12 step is a big part
Okay.
of
Yeah.
me, but I don't say that's the only way for people to get sober, so it's up to anybody who's talking to tell me what worked for them.
Yeah, my best friend is sober without a program, so it's like whatever works for you. 12 steps work for me, and just kind of trying to align myself with what my higher power wants instead of what my ego-based choices were, which, led me to places that weren't fulfilling. So,
Yeah. So take me all the way back to like growing up, first time
yeah.
you were drinking or first thing that you did that brought you some attention or validation. I want to hear it all.
Yeah, I grew up in a place called Upland, California, which is like 40 miles east of LA. It's the suburbs.
Yeah.
A really safe place to grow up, really boring place to grow up. Our population there was, I think, 3% Asian. So I felt really invisible to start off with. It felt like I didn't fit in. And my parents were really traditional immigrant parents, very strict and didn't allow a lot of outside socializing or like allow us to buy cute and trendy clothes and everything. They're really good parents, parents that loved me unconditionally. And, but they were hard on us, they wanted us to achieve and succeed, and we were criticized when we didn't do so. And as a result of that, I was pretty sheltered from any drugs or alcohol in all of high school. Like I wasn't really offered it. Even when I like rebelled, I rebelled like I would sneak out at night to go to Denny's with my friends or something, but we weren't even smoking or like drinking. We were just like, that was a rebellion, just sneaking out. And it was only until I got to college, I moved to San Diego by myself. And then I had absolute freedom, which was like,
Did you go to college there that
yes,
way?
I went to UC San Diego.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I had this absolute freedom and I went wild. I tried alcohol for the first time. Alcohol for me always like kind of, wait, are we allowed to talk about drugs or is it just more
Of
focused on?
course.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know.
This
Sometimes
is not
like,
AA. You can
okay,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah. Because drugs are actually a much bigger part of my story than alcohol.
bring it.
I'm a little bit allergic to alcohol, so often it just gives me a migraine. But the first time I tried ecstasy, which I think was my freshman year, maybe, my boyfriend, everybody was raving during those years. And the
And these
first,
years.
yeah, yeah, oh, is it still? Yeah, I guess it's still going.
My daughter's really into rave culture. So, and
Yeah.
she tells me a lot of people are still, they're definitely still doing the Molly.
Okay, it's mainstream now. It's like just
Yeah.
regular, I think. But back then it was so new and like exciting. You'd have to go like get a map and like go to a meeting point to find out where the warehouse party was going to be. It was a whole ordeal. And then I remember when my boyfriend gave me, I think it was a green triangle for the first time. And when I took it, it felt like love. It felt like God. I had no, I wasn't religious or spiritual, but it felt like what I would think God felt like. And I was like, why don't we get to feel this in real life? Um, and it felt like all the validation I ever wanted in my life. And I spent that whole night thanking him, like, thank you so much for giving me this drug, basically. Um,
I'm so
yeah.
sad that I never tried it.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. Here's the thing with ecstasy. Like, I spent several years in my college years on ecstasy. You can't go too crazy with ecstasy because, like, I was just talking to somebody about it after you take it's diminishing returns. So
Uh-huh.
when you take the first one, it's really amazing. If you try to take a second one, it's half as good. And if you try to take a third one, it doesn't even really do anything. And then you kind of need to wait 24 hours at least for it. So it's not like you're gonna go crazy on it. And that first year that I did ecstasy was just wonderful, honestly. But the problem with it was that it was a gateway drug and it led to much darker drugs. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I don't have negative things to say about ecstasy necessarily. I don't think, as for example, I really got into cocaine and that makes you a bad person. Like it takes your morals away and you will do whatever. But ecstasy was never like that.
But I feel like for people that have addiction, like with cocaine, when I was doing cocaine for a short period of time, I was like, oh, I could completely see myself becoming like a coke whore.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's like I felt like I must be the only person who is obsessed with who has it, where they're going,
Yeah.
why are they going in the bathroom, why am
Yeah.
I not invited? Like I became completely obsessed and which is the reason I had to stop doing it because I was like, I do not like who I am and
Mhm.
how crazy my brain gets as soon as I've had Coke.
Yeah, it turns you like it just like turns off something. Yeah. But it also like for me, the first time I tried Coke, it just made me feel fearless. And I was so fearful that I just felt like very powerful.
So you get to college, which I have a thing about like I have three kids. I'm a pretty not lax mom, but I'm a pretty non-strict mom. And I do feel like a lot of times when you are raised by really strict parents, as soon as you rebel or as soon as you go away and you don't have all those boundaries and rules, people do go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also like they say that about late bloomers too. Like if you started doing drugs in 12, you probably got it out of your system. But like if you start like I did around 19, I just delved in really deep, really quick.
So you're in school, and what were you going to school for?
I had a brief idea of like wanting to go into medical school, but that did not last very long because as soon as I started doing drugs, my GPA dropped to like a 2 point something. So, I was like going to bio classes and stuff, and then I just started not showing up for things. I eventually had to drop out because my grades, like I was performing so badly and I had to return
Oh,
back to LA. Yeah.
okay. And then were your parents mad?
Oh yeah, they were furious. And I ended up living with my boyfriend and just doing more drugs. So yeah, I did not move back home
Okay,
currently. Yeah.
okay. So you go back, so you start doing a lot of drugs, and then are you just like, are you working?
Yeah, so the thing is, I'm like pretty high functioning. It's why it took me so long to get sober because I'm actually a periodic. So, meaning like I could, if I have to do something, like I have to work on a big project, I could stop for a month. But then I would, like, the minute I was done, I would go back to binging as heavily as before. But around this time, I was like pursuing a career as a pinup model. Um, which I bring this up in the book. In growing up, there were so few representations of Asian females. Like when I was growing up is before Lucy Liu existed. So really there was no one. But the internet was starting and I like discovered this beautiful Asian model called Sung-hee Lee. And she was pretty much like the first beautiful Asian American woman I ever saw. And I just became obsessed. And she was a Playboy cover model. So then I was like, okay, well, this is like what I want to be. And then I followed her for 5 years. Like I followed her career obsessively until I got into college and was able to try to pursue that. So then I started pursuing pinup modeling for a number of years. And then I found that to be very unfulfilling. I mean, at first it feels like fulfillment because as somebody who was so invisible growing up, it was like, oh, all of a sudden, like I feel seen when I was completely invisible in high school. So it
Well,
felt briefly validating.
this is going to sound ignorant, but what is the difference? Like, what is pinup modeling exactly? How does it differ from, I don't know, other kinds of modeling?
Well, pinup modeling is strictly for men. So it's like
Oh, okay. So like
Playboy
Playboy. Okay,
modeling
got
or
it, got
like
it,
modeling for car magazines.
got
Like,
it.
a Vogue model is modeling a product for women.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it, got it. Sexy modeling.
Sexy
Yeah.
modeling,
Well, it's
yeah.
all sexy modeling. I get it. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're doing that. Did you have any bad experiences doing that?
Yeah, and this I detail in my book, but like when I was first trying to pursue it in college, because when I was at UC San Diego, I was trying to like I was free and I was like, I want to like try to do this modeling thing. Of course, there's like not a modeling industry in San Diego, first of all. And then second of all, um I was just this is like before the internet. Like I don't think Facebook was even a thing yet. So I was looking for modeling jobs like in the school newspaper. And I had found an ad in the want ad. So you think if you find something in the school newspaper, it's like okay, right? And we didn't have anybody to ask back then. But to just sum it up, I like while I was in college, I got assaulted by a man with an Asian fetish, basically. And I thought it was an audition, but it was not that. Um, and kind of the thrust of the book is that this video ended up being published online. And back then, it was like it's still hard now. Like if you get a revenge porn posted somewhere, um, it can still be really hard to remove. Like once something
Yeah.
exists online, it's there forever. Um, so I think after this happened to me and after I dropped out of school, I felt like I had this like scarlet letter on my forehead because everybody I knew this video existed and they did not know it was assault. It was assault. And I didn't talk about like back then we didn't have the words for it. So he didn't assault me as in like pin me down and stick a knife. It was more like coercion and like lying to me and then me being scared alone with him and just like doing whatever to get it over with. Um, I don't think anyone would have understood that in 2000 that that was assault. But after Me Too, everyone knows clearly this is like assault. So yeah, I
So
ended
did
up
you feel like you couldn't tell, like, how do you explain it? Like you couldn't talk
there's
to your parents or your friends really, or
yeah, like I there was there was no language for it really. It was just like I did not want to do that. I was a virgin. This was my first sexual, like there's no way I wanted this. And then part of it is also I disassociated so heavily in the room that I can't even to this day articulate exactly what happened because I've since watched the video because I just want to see what's out there in the world. And I don't remember swaths of it. Like this, this clothing, this, whatever happened, like I don't remember this. So, I can't even like reaccount effectively to explain it to somebody, you know?
And then so did that turn you off to like trying to do that kind of modeling, or were you did that was your response more like, okay, well, fuck it?
No, so this is a weird thing that is confusing about victims because they say this about Harvey Weinstein, for example. He would harass someone or like rape someone or assault them, and they would still continue to be friends with him or whatever, still interact. It's like a way of denying that you're a victim by doubling down. And for me, it was like this video is out there. I want to accomplish like so much in the legitimate. Okay, so this um I wasn't like raped, but I was sexually assaulted in different ways that and there's a big separation between Playboy pinup modeling and what's categorized as triple X, which is anything that's shows anything more than Playboy shows. Um, and I had always wanted to do Playboy, like classy pinup modeling is what they
Right.
call it. And I was always super against anything in the other direction. So then I was like, I am going to double down on like Playboy models and get as many covers as I can, as many blah, 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 to like legitimize myself and like even kind of build a shield of achievements to like overcome this. I wasn't thinking all of this at the time, but looking back, I think that's like what mentally went through my head.
Yeah. So then what? So then you keep doing that. You're going after that because you've
Yeah.
lived a lot of life. Okay,
Yeah.
so you still have the same boyfriend at this time?
He stayed with me through this because, well, the thing is, when the assault happened, I didn't tell anybody about it, not even him. I didn't tell anybody. And then I stuffed it down and just like kind of made myself forget about it. And then a year later, it was published. So then um, I my boyfriend stuck with me through it. I lost a lot of friends during that time who judged me for it. And yeah, so then I pursued the modeling thing, trying to forget about this video that like just exists. And I had a lot of success there. Um, like there's this whole other world I don't want to get into too deeply, but it's like the Asian American car show scene that inspired the Fast and Furious. I did that for many years, and there was a huge community there that would tour around the world because that's all Asians had. So we really invested in that community. Um, but what happened is like after achieving as much as I thought I could achieve there, I didn't feel fulfilled. And I had built up quite a social media following on websites and everything. And this was around the time MySpace was launching.
Oh yeah.
And yeah. And I had always had this idea that I wanted to pursue a music career, but then I was like, there's not a single Asian female musician in America, so I don't see how this is possible. But then when I started to gain my own following, then I started to dabble with like, oh, I'll put a song out or I'll put some things out, and then I would get a good reaction. And then MySpace came along, and this was a music focused website where your profile was all about your music. So then I was really able to launch a music career because of MySpace, really.
Wow, okay. And then is that when you formed your band? Nylon
I
Pink?
I did like solo music for probably about 5 years, and then I ended up starting Nylon Pink. What I would do is always like I was still doing a lot of mostly cocaine and pills during this time, but like I'd built up my solo music career to a certain level and then I would burn it all to the ground by like not showing up. Like people would book me a plane ticket and like have me book for a show. I would just not even get on the plane. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like I was ended up being a complete mess. So I ended up burning like my solo career to the ground. And then after a
Like,
few,
did you have a manager,
yeah,
agent?
I had a manager, I had an agent. I
Did
had
they fire
just
you?
Um, yeah. And then also, I mean, I had a producer who had a bunch of songs. I mean, I would go into the studio and be so incoherent that I couldn't even finish a song. So yeah. Um,
And at that point, they're like, well, you're not Mariah Carey. So,
yeah.
like, if you
Yeah.
can't even handle the beginning stages, like, what's going to happen
No,
when
nobody has
later?
any tolerance for that at all.
Yeah.
Um,
So were
and
you having moments where you just like, oh shit, like my drug use is like going to stop me from having a career? Or were you like, no, I can get this under control?
I don't know if I was thinking about it that much during the time. I think I was just enjoying like partying. Um, and I kind of just like stopped doing music for a year and just partied. Yeah. And maybe it was a little bit freeing because that's all I did. And it was dark, but I also had, I guess, saved up some money and I had no responsibilities then. But eventually, then I met my bassist, and she was kind of the one to inspire a band. And then once I got excited about Nylon Pink as an idea, that kind of dug me out of the hole. It was just a few years later after I joined Nylon Pink that I ended up trying to get sober. So that maybe was it didn't cause me to get sober, but the timing around it. Yeah.
So how bad did things get though with the, I mean, that's pretty bad. You're missing flights and stuff,
Yeah.
but was it causing friction with your bandmates?
Well, the problem with the bandmates is that they all had substance. That's the problem when you're in a band, and some of them had worse than me. So it's like, who are you? I could always say, like, well, she's doing this. So, like, this is not even a big deal. But the one thing that really saved me is that have you ever watched Broke Down Palace?
Yes.
Oh my God,
Yes.
a
Yes.
horror
Yes.
movie for drug users.
Yeah.
Um, but like that movie scared me straight from ever using drugs overseas. And our band toured and played different countries often. And I would sober up before going overseas because I was, there's the death penalty for drugs in some
Oh my
countries.
God. I was
Yeah.
just telling my daughter, we were talking about, she's in college. We were talking about somebody that going out of the country that likes their weed. And I was just like, I hope they didn't bring any because I was
Yeah.
thinking locked up abroad, broke down palace. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, no.
yeah.
I was totally, that really helped, I think, curb a lot of the drug use during that time because we were overseas, like, for a month at a time sometimes.
Well, but that's kind of tricky, right? Because if you can curb it for, a month at a time, then did that make you think like, I don't have a problem?
Oh, totally. I just got into sobriety in the strangest way, is that like bands don't pay very well. The music industry doesn't pay very well unless you're Lady Gaga. But like I was having a lot of financial difficulty during this time. Like couldn't manage my finances and had like tens of thousands of dollars of debt. And I had a friend who was a longtime sober person. He had suggested that I go to AA, and I was like, I don't have a problem. Like, look, I could stop. But he then suggested, because I was always talking about money issues, he was like, there's this program called Debtors Anonymous.
Yeah.
And by the time I heard that, I was like spending thousands of dollars on money seminars and like money coaches and like trying to figure out this money problem. And then I went to Debtors Anonymous and it was free. So,
I've always been fascinated by the people that want you to spend money to help you understand why
yeah.
you spend so much money.
Yeah, it usually
The
doesn't
perfect
work. That's why.
marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Debtors Anonymous was amazing because, um, well, the basis of it wasn't just getting your numbers in order, which there is that, but it had the spiritual aspect, which I never had in my life before. And I didn't grow up religious, so I didn't have like a big Some people have something against the word God. Like I didn't have any of that because I didn't have much experience with it. So I was very open to listen. And then I worked the steps in DA not sober because I was still using here and there. And this it still worked. It's still like after a couple of years got me out of debt and like got me on stable ground. And then at that time, I think a therapist, because I had started working with a therapist, was like, "Oh, maybe you should look at your cocaine usage." And then I was like, "Oh, well, I am still miserable, so maybe." So
There's
yeah.
something about cocaine that is easier to see as a problem than like drinking, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, the recovery from cocaine, first of all, is just much rougher. I think it breaks you down much more than alcohol. Um, and it is expensive. So it's like, yeah. Um, I don't feel like alcohol always makes you into an evil person, but cocaine kind of does,
Hmm.
in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess depends on how much the addiction, just addiction in general, is affecting the rest of your life. It depends on how much obsession goes into trying to stop doing whatever the thing is you're doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, because for me, I was never even physically dependent on alcohol. I didn't go to rehab. I don't remember having any kind of withdrawal. I don't think I drank
Yeah.
that much. The problem was that I was unpredictable when I
Hmm.
drank and that I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to quit drinking. So
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah.
when you're trying
Yeah.
to control it and going, today I'm not going to drink. Today, or if I do, I'm going to have 2 glasses of wine and that's it. And then going like, oh my God, I had six
Yeah.
and blacked
Yeah.
out. Like, why?
Yeah.
It's, if that's what where your mind is, it doesn't, yeah, I think that, of course, it's not as damaging probably as cocaine or heroin or many other drugs, but you know what I mean? It's how much you feel imprisoned by whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and I was always amazed, and people say this about alcohol, where we're amazed at people who would just have one glass and be like, okay, I'm done. But like one time, one of my bandmates, she more had a problem with alcohol, but not cocaine at all. And she was like, oh yeah, I got an 8 ball in the freezer. And I was like, what? Like, give it to me now. And I got it and started doing it immediately. But she had it in there for months. And I have no concept of saving any kind of drug in my house. I would do it the minute I saw it.
Right. That's so funny. I feel like that with a lot, like I didn't even really like to be stoned, but I remember one time this friend of mine gave me some pot. I don't know, they had gotten a bunch of pot and she gave me this baggie of pot and I don't even like it. And I started smoking pot like every single night before I went to sleep. Every night I'd be like, you know what? I'm just home like alone with snacks and TV. I think I'll get high. Like as if it
Yeah.
was a new idea. And then every time I'd be high and paranoid and going, I don't even like this feeling. Why? I'm not going to do this again.
Oh
And
my
then
God,
the
I've had that. I actually hate weed. I am terrified of it because I get paranoid and it's never fun. And I had an ex that was a daily pot smoker, and I'd tell him, I don't like this. This is scary. And eventually he'd wear me down again to try it again. And I would always say the same thing, like, how did I get here again? I promised myself I wouldn't do this. And yeah, it was terrifying every time.
yeah. So, okay, so you're seeing a therapist. She's like, maybe you should like look at the cocaine use.
Yeah, I was very primed for it at that time because I had already spent like 2 years in DA. And then I ended up going to a meeting, and then I ended up finding a sponsor. But it still took me a couple of years because I was touring with the band. So then we'd like go on a tour. Like one of them I remember distinctly was in Ohio, and it was a really rough tour where we were driving around in a van and like staying at really shitty hotels. And it was so painful and difficult. But actually, I stayed sober through that tour. It was only when we ended up going to Macau and I was with the band, and I ended up losing my sobriety there with alcohol briefly. But yeah, there was all these little slips. And then I think my last time I always had it in my mind when I got sober, like, yeah, I'm gonna get sober, but one day I'm gonna get sick and I'm gonna have to go to the hospital and I'm gonna take painkillers because I'm not gonna feel pain. Um, and I ended up going out over Vicodin, which was actually not prescribed for me, but I thought I was in pain and went and got it prescribed from a urgent care doctor. Um, and then I think that was my last one. The sponsor made me flush those down the toilet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think it was
Look at
only like,
you. You told your sponsor.
well, it was only like a 3 day out. Yeah. And once you like get a brain full of AA or whatever, like that, it's never really that fun. Like it wasn't that
The belly
great.
full of beer, but a head full of AA. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It wasn't that great. And the weirdest part was like I didn't even take that many. Like at most, maybe I took 10 over 3 days. And the withdrawal from that, like it felt like pins and needles on my body. And it was very uncomfortable. And I never want to do that again.
You're sensitive.
Yeah, no, I'm a person who could do tons and tons, but like by this time I had been sober. So yeah, I was very sensitive to it.
So then you just never did it again?
Yeah, I mean, I started seriously working the steps and like going to a meeting every single day and working the tools that are available. And then, yeah, I never did so far, knock on wood.
And then you kept going with your band.
No, then my sponsor was like, I think the band makes you miserable. And I was like,
Oh,
no, I love being in a band. Like, this is like my dream. Because I had like such a validation connected to being part of this band. Um,
and were
and
all the band members Asian American?
it didn't start off that way, but yes, like it's interesting because when I still first started the band with my bandmate, Kat, she was Korean, and it was me and her and two white guys actually, because there's so many
Okay.
white guy musicians in Hollywood. And then the guitarist left, and then there was an awesome Asian guitarist available, so she came in, and then the drummer got replaced by a killer Asian drummer, and then suddenly before that, we were playing dive clubs, but when we became an all Asian girl band, then it became like, oh, we can like some people were interested in booking us. Ultimately, there was still like a ceiling because it opened a lot of doors of opportunities because we were like this very unique thing. And then, but then when we got to the record label stage, they were like, we don't know what to do with you actually, because there's no record labels kind of repackaged. They're like, oh, Britney Spears, then we'll make a Jessica Simpson and then Mandy Moore. Like they know how to work with what they got.
Right, right. But do you feel like being part of an Asian American band feeds into that fetishization kind of thing that you're writing about in your book?
Absolutely. So not just being in a band. I think that in itself can be non-fetishy, even with all Asian women. But the point is that once like, oh, we dress a little sexier for this video, and it sure got a lot more views, so then you would lean into that. Or like there's a little bit of infantilization inherent with fetishization. Like Asian women often look younger, and then the whole thing of the Asian fetish that is problematic is they're looking for submissive women who will obey, basically. That's what they want. And younger women tend to be a little more impressionable and obedient. And in East Asia or in Asian cultures, like youth is highly celebrated, even more than here, if you can believe it. And like in K-pop, which is so popular now,
I was gonna
they,
ask you about that because I just
yeah.
watched this whole reality show about the K-pop. It's the building of like a K-pop band, but in
Mm.
America, but like a
Yes, yeah,
global
yeah.
K-pop band.
I
I
watched
now
that, yeah.
right? And
Um,
I was thinking that there was a lot that there seemed like there was a lot of that in the culture, in the different cultures of like the Asian girls starting them like really young.
yeah. So just imagine that TV show is the sanitized version of what they're willing to show you on Netflix. So I
Uh-huh.
think the reality is probably a lot darker. But yes, they do start them at 12 years old. They're not allowed to date. There's been stories that have come out of like women being coerced to do things with much older executives, but yet they're not allowed to date boys their same age. And also, there's a practice in K-pop called, not a practice, but like I don't know what the word for it. It's called aegyo, where they just act super cute and like they act like grown women act like children. They're like, oh, like quiet,
Yeah.
and men find this really charming, but like to me, it seems like why are grown women acting like children and why are we celebrating this? But I don't want to like discount K-pop. I love K-pop and I love like how it's becoming global, but like many things, everything probably has something problematic that we could analyze. Because there's
Yeah.
probably plenty of problematic issues with like American over sexualized pop stars
Yeah.
also. Yeah.
I mean, there's just, I don't like the thing of like women, grown women doing a baby voice to,
Yeah.
that's always bugged me. Even as
Yeah.
a comedian, I was like, why are some women just like, hi, how are you? Like,
Yeah.
I hate it. And why do men like that?
Yeah, I don't think it's all men. Like the thing is like men get so triggered when I bring up fetishization and I'm like I'm not talking about all men. And I think there's so many good men out there, but there are some that I'm pointing out that are problematic and that doesn't mean all men.
Right, right. So, okay, so you get sober. I'm curious as to how what was your relationship like with your parents at this point?
So interesting with parents because like Asian parents kind of just pretend things don't happen. Like it was very obvious to me, or maybe they don't even know what to look for because they'd come over to my house and there'd be like prescription bottles and like maybe a mirror with like some residue on it. But then in retrospect, like maybe my parents didn't know, like if you don't use cocaine, you don't know the paraphernalia that
Right.
any cocaine user would know.
They're just
So
like, oh, it's baby powder.
yeah, they literally wouldn't know what it is. Because I recently told them, like, hey, by the way, in the book, there's like some sexual assault and like some drug and alcohol problems. And my mom was like, you had drug problems? I was like, what? Like, so I don't know if they were that aware of it or they just didn't want to be aware of it. But my relationship to my mom was very difficult through the years because she was very strict and I was extremely rebellious and extremely like a terrible, disrespectful daughter, honestly. So we had a really hard time for a long time. But once I, made my amends and like did that, like we're really good today. Like I took her to Japan, I think in April, May. And yeah, we went there for 2 weeks. And I remember once before I got sober, we went on a trip to Hong Kong and then we were like not speaking or staying in the room by the end of the trip. So
Oh, really?
yeah. And that at that time, I was like, I'm never traveling with her again. But now, yeah,
But was that
it's
like old stuff or was that like just your personalities clashing? You know what I
uh
mean? Like, was that sort of like, was she treating you like you were like a little girl, like trying to be controlling?
maybe. But here's the thing. When I changed, um, by changing myself and working on myself, she has magically changed because there's some kind of unconscious relation happening that we don't even know about. And when I became more accepting of her, she naturally started criticizing me less. Yeah. So I feel like there's some aspect to that in recovery where like magically relationships heal as long as you're working on your part.
So it sounds to me as, game recognized game, right? That you that you do work on your recovery. So you still go to meetings and like do the deal.
Yeah, I mean, Los Angeles has some of the best recovery in the world. There's a meeting of any kind that you want, like upon the hour. And some of my closest friends now are recovery friends because say like a lot of my best friends have moved away from LA, so they're not even here anymore. And then I go to meetings that are really close to my house, so then I meet people who live really, really close to me. So yeah, I'm really pretty deep in that community, I think.
I think that makes a big difference for people. I mean, listen, and again, it takes all different ways. There are many different ways to get sober, but I think it's just easier for me when I keep going to meetings and seeing the same people and stay accountable. Because, and look, because it just forces you to kind of look at that stuff and makes all my relationships better.
I kind of call it cool people church. So like I go and I don't know because LA recovery is just like everybody's in there. So it's like very normal to be sober, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know at some of the meetings that I've been to, there's been times where like you don't recognize somebody, but you're like, that person looks a little bit familiar, you know?
Yeah.
And then they're like taking a cake for their birthday. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a huge rock star. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's why they look familiar.
yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
after they leave, everyone's like, was that so and so? And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, it was. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so after you got sober, is that when you got into like travel blogging and like I want to hear about your journey to start writing this book and how sobriety helped you with that.
Yeah, it was really by taking the next indicated action. I think when I quit the band, my guitarist eventually quit the band too, and the band just completely, everybody quit. And then we were like, oh, we have no backup plan because we didn't like plan for anything but to succeed in music. And then we were kind of just like trying to figure out how to earn money and working these odd jobs. But our band website still had a lot of traffic. So I ended up, me and my guitarist, we ended up turning into a travel blog, which made a lot of sense because we had toured and we had photos from that and we could talk about different destinations. So we started travel blogging and like travel bloggers get invited on media trips where they're like sponsored trips. And then we'd go on these trips and I started to meet journalists, like travel journalists. And I was like, oh, wow, like their work is so much more legitimate than blogging. And they were writing for impressive outlets that everybody knew. And then I was like, I'd much rather do that than blog. And plus, they got them to go on better trips, honestly. So I just wanted that. So that's really how I got into writing, just because I wanted to travel. Um, and I also want to mention that I started going to a program called UA, called Under Earners Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There really is everything.
There is, yeah. And I feel like I love that program. I stopped going to DA because I feel like I started to go to UA instead, but it's kind of a program that I describe it as um, it helped me learn how to earn abundantly doing things I love. But the problem is like if you're going to allow my ego to choose what I'm going to earn abundantly at, I'm going to choose something that doesn't fulfill me. And it's just strange that it led me to writing because like I never wanted to be a writer. I didn't grow up writing. You know, you meet a lot of writers and they're like, I've been writing, in my journals since I was like 5 or something. And that was never something I thought about. And yeah, I just started to really fall in love with travel writing. Um, and it was only during the pandemic. I was doing travel writing for like a year and I was very in love with the career. And then the pandemic happened. So then like my career was temporarily ended and all my trips were canceled and all my writing was like put on hold. Um, Social media is also a really big part of my experience. So I've always known that it's just important to build social media platforms no matter what career you're in, because in every career I've been in, it's been helpful. I think it's even helpful if you're a plumber to have social media because that will bring
Yeah.
you customers. But as a writer, it's also very important because editors will consider that um, when you're pitching a story. And I had always wanted to learn TikTok. But like I never had the time because I was traveling around and I was like, when do I have time to invest in TikTok? And then now I suddenly was like given the gift of all the time in the world. Um, so I just ended up posting 5 videos a day for a year. But I tried everything, like any kind of content under the sun you could think of. But when I started to post about my career in the 2000s, which was kind of the start of the Asian American import culture, and when I started talking about that time, things started to go viral because I was one of the very few people who could speak on that time. Um, and so I made that my niche just like Asian American content. And I started doing that for a year. And then the Atlanta spa shootings happened. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So for those that don't know, it's when this sex obsessed man went into a bunch of massage parlors and shot and killed 8 people. And then,
horrible.
yeah, 6 of them were Asian women. And then the media tried to say, oh, this wasn't racially or sexually motivated. But then all the Asians knew that this clearly was. And there was a huge discourse within our community about it. And then I started to reflect back on like, oh, how did I maybe contribute unconsciously to this when I was young? Because I kind of fetishized myself and objectified myself for the male gaze because of the validation I got. So I ended up writing an article on that topic and it got a lot of attention, and that ultimately inspired the book. Um, but I do think it was very like sobriety led because I was just open to like, oh, let me see what's the right path instead of saying like, this is what I want to do and like focusing on the wrong path.
That's so interesting. And so the book is a series, it's essays.
Hmm.
It's all essays. It's not linear
It's linear,
story of
but
your
it's in
life.
essays. Yeah, we made it still like sequential, but it doesn't like go, it'll skip over parts,
That's
like
how
it.
my book is too. Yeah, that's how I
Okay,
feel
yeah,
most comfortable writing. Yeah, I
yeah,
tried to line it up. I mean, there were a couple things that were out of order. I tried to tell the whole story, going back to being a kid, my drunkish story. But yeah, I that's how I write too.
yeah.
I get it. Yeah, yeah,
I like
yeah.
it.
Okay, so tell us the name of the book, and give us your social media handles. I want everybody to go buy this book. So it's available, I want to say August 16th. Is that the actual release date?
19th,
The
yeah.
19th. Okay. So if I release this next coming Tuesday, you can pre-order it.
Yes,
Or
yeah.
I can release it when it's out.
Whatever you prefer,
We'll talk
yeah.
about that after. But anyway,
Okay.
okay. You can get the book. You can pretty much get the book anytime as soon as you order it. Do that. So give us the whole name of the book.
Yeah, so you can find it just by Fetishized, but the full title's Fetishized, A Reckoning with Yellow Fever, Feminism, and Beauty. But I kind of just call it Fetishized.
These
And
book
then
companies love a long title.
they do, I don't know if it's like a SEO thing or something, but otherwise, my name's Kyla Yu, and you could just find me by my name on social media and my website and everything.
Okay, I'll link to it in the description. Oh my gosh, you are adorable, and I don't mean that in a fetishizing kind of way.
You can't fetishize
No, you're
me.
so
Yeah.
cute and you're so like lovable and you are really honest. I really appreciate that. I think this is going to help people. So yeah, so buy her book and follow her on TikTok and the
Yeah.
Instagram. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.